My name is Hannah, welcome to my channel, and if you clicked on this video, thanks for being here. I'm not expecting a huge turnout from my actual audience because even though the Beatles are considered to be one of the most popular and well-known bands of all time, most of my viewers, you guys are a lot younger and typically listen to newer music, which is what I normally do talk about on my channel. But if you are actually here, thank you. If you clicked on this and you're not actually into the Beatles yet, hopefully this video will kind of open up your eyes and get you into some of their music. I actually did a top 10 countdown on my favorite songs by them, I think last spring, so if you're interested in that, I will put a link somewhere on screen for you guys to go check that out. But in this video, the purpose today is for me to share 10 of their songs that I feel are criminally underrated. The Beatles, as massive as they are, I still think there are a few hidden gems in their discography that people often overlook, and that's what I want to shine a light on today. Keep in mind, these are just 10 picks. I'm aware that there are plenty of others that could fit into this list, but these are just the ones that I definitely feel are very underrated, and I also love all of these songs. So with that said, I'm just going to get into this countdown. These are in no particular order, and let's get started.
Fill your eyes, smiles awake you when you rise.
So I'm starting out with a song that is actually a part of a medley on Abbey Road that transitions into Carry That Weight. It's Golden Slumbers, and this one is very much a lullaby. It starts off kind of slow, soft, and soothing with a really pretty piano, and it actually gradually gets louder and a little bit more intense. The climax of this song is absolutely beautiful as we hear Paul McCartney just kind of extend his voice and push himself to the limits here. There's so much power in it, but it's like comforting at the same time. There's a lot of passion in his voice, and in my opinion, this is one of his best vocal performances that has been captured on tape. Now, especially the part where he says, "Smiles awake you when you rise," he is really pushing himself to the limit on that line, and it sounds so incredibly good. He really succeeded with that delivery, and it's so impressive, honestly. And I feel like this one has been overlooked because it is such a quick song. It's very short and brief, and I feel like the album that Abbey Road is, there's a lot of great songs on there, and people might forget about this one, but it's always been one that I come back to over and over again.
I've just seen her face, I can't forget the time or place where we just met. She's just the girl for me, and I want all the world to see we've met.
The Beatles go country? Yeah, that's right. This British rock band actually have a couple of songs that are Western leaning, and I've Just Seen a Face is probably my favorite example of that. This song is very fast paced, and every verse here is so insanely memorable that it just makes it so easy for you to pick up on all of these lines and actually memorize the entire tune. Add a banjo or a fiddle into the mix of this song, and this could so be considered bluegrass, and it's crazy to actually say that when talking about the Beatles, but that's why I find that this one is such a hidden gem. The Beatles have explored so many different territories musically, and I've Just Seen a Face is just a really fun one from Help that I actually find pretty addicting.
Tell me why you cried and why you lied to me.
Next on my list is Tell Me Why off of A Hard Day's Night. So this was still a little bit early in their career, back when they were making poppy love songs that were more innocent. And honestly, I do really love that album. I think it's a very fun record, and Tell Me Why is one that is insanely catchy, that's led by John Lennon. It's fun, and even though it is simple, I still think it's pretty enjoyable overall, and it has been overlooked on that record because there are so many other catchy love songs like this, but this one I always kind of admired for some reason. And I mentioned them being innocent. I really love the innocence of this album because it's just playful and, you know, not so serious, and I think we need a little bit of that in our lives every once in a while. It's nothing super deep, it's cute, it's quick, but it really makes me happy when I listen to it.
You and me Sunday driving, not arriving on our way back home, on our way home.
Two of Us is my next selection off of Let It Be, and I've always admired the instrumentation in this song because it's very raw. It has mostly acoustic guitars, I think all acoustic guitars, and also apparently John and Paul actually shared one microphone while recording the vocals for this, which I find that to be pretty cool. Paul wrote this song about him and his wife Linda and their drives together. They often would just go on a drive to nowhere. They didn't really have a destination. They would just purposely try to kind of get lost so they could explore together and make memories. And I really admire that idea. I feel like it's something that we all need to do every once in a while to kind of just remove the structure from your life, go for a drive with no actual, purpose or destination and just get lost. I've always loved the line that says two of us riding nowhere. It's just like two people off on a drive, on a trip or whatever, a road trip of sorts. Wherever they're going, they don't even know, but it's okay because they're gonna enjoy it anyways, and they're gonna find something fun to do. It's a cool idea, and especially now that we have GPSs and cell phones that can get us back to actually where we need to be.
You want her, you need her, and yet you don't believe her when she says her love is dead. You think she needs you.
For No One is up next, and this one is a huge favorite of mine for sure. It's actually about the end of a relationship where the other person is kind of moved on. They don't really care anymore about you. They don't need you anymore. And it's sad, but it is what it is. The mood of this song is pretty haunting in a way just because it features pianos and a French horn solo and the smooth vocals from Paul where he's kind of telling this story in an honest and kind of accepting manner, almost depressing in a way, but mostly unfazed. And I don't know, I just think it's a very interesting sounding song that's kind of different from a lot of their other stuff, and it's actually considered a Baroque pop song.
You can talk to me. You can talk to me. You can talk to me. If you're lonely, you can talk to me.
Yes, a song from Yellow Submarine is actually making this list because damn it, I really think that Hey Bulldog is a killer song. If I'm being honest, this is probably like the only song from that album that I genuinely really like and often come back to. That's because I love the entire vibe here. It's more of a harder rock song for the Beatles. Pianos and bass groove along so nicely, and that guitar solo from George, it's so underrated, man. I also really love the way John sounds on this track. His voice is so gritty and raw, and he just sounds awesome singing that main chorus. And it's actually kind of interesting towards the end of this song because John and Paul start to kind of go a little bit crazy at the end there. They start like mimicking dogs, barking, and just adding in this random banter that is kind of hard to understand what they're even saying or talking about. It's pretty much nonsense, but it's playful and it's funny, and I really adore that.
Oh, darling, please believe me. I'll never do you no harm.
Next we have Paul McCartney's Oh Darling, which is definitely a bluesy type song where he's kind of begging this girl to stay with him and not leave. Paul sings incredibly well on this track. I always thought it was one of his best recordings, and you can tell that he's kind of giving a head nod to a lot of 50s and 60s African American singers like Fats Domino and Little Richard. He kind of tries to mimic that in his own voice, and it sounds absolutely awesome. The influence is obvious, but Paul did just such a great job at kind of mimicking that and bringing the soul into this song. He expands his voice, almost yelling at times, and there's just so much passion behind it. It sounds fantastic.
Who knows how long I've loved you? You know I love you still. Will I wait a lonely lifetime? If you want me to, I will.
I'm such a sucker for cute, sweet love songs, and I Will is definitely the best example of that. It's absolutely adorable, and even though it's quite simple, I feel like it's totally underappreciated. It's basically just a sweet little love poem that Paul has dedicated to somebody that he actually hasn't met yet. Whoever his true love is somewhere out there in the world, it's for that person. I Will has always been very comforting to me because of how softly Paul sings this one, and it's a song that I can easily dedicate to my own love, for obvious reasons. want to give some praise to Rain, which is the B-side to Paperback Writer, and this is pretty much considered to be the Beatles' first psychedelic rock song. This is really the first time where they started to kind of experiment in that way with different effects, and they actually use reverse vocals towards the end, which is the first time that's really ever been a thing. All of that combined with the slow-paced rhythm just makes for a very unique piece overall, and I feel like it sounds just a bit strange and different, but like in a really good way, and this easily paved the way for what they were going to do on Revolver. I know over the years this song has gained a lot of appreciation, so it's probably the most popular song on this list perhaps, but either way I still think this can be considered underrated as a whole.
We gave her most of our lives, is leaving, sacrificed most of our lives, we gave her everything.
Alright, so the last song I want to talk about is She's Leaving Home off of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and this is actually based on a true story that Paul read in the newspaper about this teenage girl. She was 17, ran away from home, just kind of took off with her older boyfriend. Now this song's overall sound and tone is very like kind of melancholy in a way, but kind of beautiful at the same time in the way that they sing in this. At the end of the chorus here it says she's leaving home after living alone for so many years. So I totally relate to that line right there. It's implying that she's been lonely and unhappy even though her parents think that they've given her everything. They kind of kept her sheltered and away from the world. She hasn't really gotten to explore and become her own person. Even being surrounded by her family, it's just not her place, and she's moving on, obviously. Like I said, this song kind of has a haunting, eerie vibe, and it shows the parents' perspective, which they obviously don't really understand what's going on at all. They're like very confused, they're upset, they're saddened by this, they're like, we bought her everything money could buy, why is she leaving? Essentially, they just don't get it. And one interesting note about this song, none of the Beatles actually played any instruments on this. It was pretty much just their voices, John and Paul, and then they had an orchestra come in and play pretty much everything else. But overall, it's a very beautiful composition, it's pretty emotional, and I feel like it's totally overlooked. Alright guys, so those were 10 songs by the Beatles that I personally feel are very, very underrated. If you guys enjoyed this list or agreed with me, make sure to leave a like on this video if you are a fan of the Beatles, and please leave a comment down below with some songs that you feel are underrated by this band. Thanks again to everybody who tuned into this video. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for being here. And if you're actually new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I make videos about music, bands, concerts, vinyl, all that kind of stuff. If you're interested in that, make sure to stick around. And with that said, I will see you all next time.